forever. And he mentioned this. He said, Casper said, I can tell my grandkids I beat Novak Djokovic one time on a day, and no one can ever take that away from me. That's a lot of stuff to be thinking about when you're on the court. When you were saying that, like the mental toll it takes, and I think it's absolutely accurate. I think mental effort is a choice, but what you have mentally and how exhausted you are isn't a choice, right? Effort's a choice. Those often get confused. I went back to my last year on tour, as you were saying it in my head. I spent a decade pretty much only losing to Roger, and then the last year for like 4 months, he's like kind of like one of the only guys I could beat. In Miami, it was like round of 32. I was playing like a donkey all year, like an absolute donkey, and that might be offensive to donkeys. And we match up. There's no. I'd go into Wimbledon final like I have a puncher's chance. I can, I would believe, like I believe that, not that I was better, but that I could win. Right? There's a difference between the two. At scale I was never better than Roger Federer. On a given day, can I throw a right hand uppercut and beat Roger Federer? Yeah. So this last year, 2012, I have no business winning this match. Win a first set in a breaker, lose a second set 6-1. Like total points won, he had to be up like 20. It was such an outlier that we were tied. Break in the third set, and I am just like choking my way to the finish line for the rest of the set. Going too deep here, but my agent had passed like 5 or 6 months earlier. Like I had this thing where I was like having open conversations with him while I was on the court, right? It was like, let's just get through. And he was in his hometown. His wife was there, the whole thing. It was very emotional for me. End up winning that match somehow against Federer. I'm 30 in the world and he's like 2. Like it makes no sense. And it was like this joy. I was in the round of 16. Like there was no, it wasn't as if I won a tournament. It wasn't as if I'd been in the round of 16 Miami 12 times at that point. And I'm like, okay, let's turn the year around. I go out the next day against Juan Monaco. Good player, solid player. Also not Roger Federer. Lose 5-0. Literally couldn't get myself to, I had used so much mental reserve in that match against Roger that it was just, I came out the next day and I was like, I'm trying so hard and I just can't create those feelings. The same physically, mentally, like it just takes so much out of you. So I think that's a great point with Ruud, Novak getting routed by Tsitsipas in the final, maybe not having that mental reserve to convert those break points. A week later, he does. I feel like too often when I'm talking to people about you two, I saw the work and the muscle memory created through practice. One of my favorite things of Davis Cup weeks was because like when you're on tour, you're going to practice, you're going to leave. Like I'm not going to stick around Washington to watch Bob and Mike hit like 4 hours after I practice. Like that's just not the way the orbit goes. When you're on tour, Davis Cup is a different thing. You're all sharing the same transportation. You have a set block. They're on either right before you or right after you. And I feel like too often you guys get explained away by people who even know tennis as, oh yeah, that's the twin thing. I'm like, it's not the twin. They literally spend 8 hours, like you'll hit a great volley. They go, that's the twin thing. I'm like, I'm sure there's an element of that. And I want you all to define what that is in a second. But I find myself getting mad that it's become a catch-all for your skill set, which is a joke. Like Mike, producer Mike, I'll literally watch them. And because they've hit the same ball against each other for so many years, they would go 40 minutes in a practice. Like this unspoken thing, one would go up, hit volleys, the other one would go, and it wouldn't be like this, there would be no stop. It was like this ongoing, like rhythmic thing. But like, that's not a twin thing. That's a lifetime of work thing. And I hate that it gets pigeonholed when someone makes a great cross or a great read or sticks a return. Like Mike sticking a return, on break point isn't because Bob's close, it's because he's like the best returner in doubles history. Like, how do you define like the kind of sensory stuff that where you know where the person's going to be versus the skill set built up? Because I find myself wanting to defend the skill set and work more than kind of giving credit to just you two in proximity. Is that nuts?
We were, as you saw our practices, we were crazy intense, right? Like we really pushed each other. We had our practices like clockwork. We'd done them so many times since literally like 3-4 years old. We were working on doubles coming up when guys are mainly focusing on singles. My dad had us doing these doubles drills and hitting for the alleys. And so when we were out there, we were just moving, but we were